Welcome to the deep dive. We are genuinely thrilled you are here with us today.
Absolutely.
If you are listening to this right now, chances are you're looking for a shift.
Yeah, a big one.
Maybe you're prepping for a massive project. Maybe you're just feeling a bit stuck in the mud, or maybe you're simply intensely curious about the actual literal architecture of your own mind.
Which is fascinating all on its own.
It is. Whatever brought you to this moment, we have a really profound mission for you today. We are taking a massive stack of sources.
A really towering stack.
Right. Ranging from the classic philosophy of René Descartes, Immanuel Kant, and Friedrich Nietzsche, all the way to the absolute bleeding edge of modern neuroscience.
We're talking Antonio Damasio's somatic marker hypothesis.
Robert Kegan's theories of adult cognitive development.
And even the ancient Socratic method as it applies to modern cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But to explicitly set the tone for you today, this deep dive is about using your time for momentum, not pressure.
I love that framing.
Yeah.
Momentum, not pressure.
Right. I want you to think of the time you have ahead of you right now. Maybe it's a block of 6 hours you've set aside for deep work or study or just getting your life organized. I want you to think of it as a runway. We use these 6 hours for momentum, not for pressure.
Yeah, and the goal for you today is to take a low mood or a feeling of stagnation and turn it into actual forward motion.
Exactly. And we're going to do that by combining 3 specific things: a short reset, a clear creative identity, and one concrete output.
And for today, our shared output is this very exploration.
Yes, a long-form conversation script that mixes all your themes together. We're talking hidden power, the amygdala, neuroplasticity, philosophy, intelligence, identity, and future building.
Because a key fact about the brain is that it often wants you to quit when things get messy.
Right.
It wants you to quit when it feels overwhelmed by what we're going to call the impulse vibration of thoughts.
The impulse vibration of thoughts. That's going to be central today. By understanding these specific mechanics, the research suggests you can consciously rewire how you perceive and interact with reality.
You hand yourself the keys to your own cognitive engine.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with what we might call the great divorce of the mind and the body.
The Great Divorce. It's the perfect place to start. Because to understand how we currently view the mind and why we often feel so stuck, we have to travel back to the 17th century.
We're talking about René Descartes.
Exactly, the French philosopher. Now, Descartes is incredibly famous for his method of radical doubt.
Right. He wanted to build a foundation for science that was absolutely bulletproof.
He did. So, to do that, he decided to strip away everything he could possibly doubt. His senses, his memories.
Because his senses had lied to him before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If a stick looks bent in water, but it's actually straight, you can't trust your eyes. So he stripped away the physical world entirely to find a single, undeniable truth.
Which led to his incredibly catchy conclusion:
I think, therefore I am.
It sounds great on a bumper sticker.
It really does.
Yeah.
But in doing so, he created a profound split in how we understand human existence.
Because he concluded that since his thinking mind was the only certain thing, he must primarily be a thinking thing.
Right. Characterized entirely by intellect and will. And crucially, he argued this mind was completely immaterial. It was non-extended.
Meaning it took up 0 physical space.
0.
So if the mind is this floating, invisible, perfectly rational cloud, what on earth did he think the body was?
The body was just a machine.
Just a meat suit.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It was extended in space, made of physical matter, operating on pure mechanical physics. He thought it was animated by animal spirits, these fine physical particles flowing through the nerves, interacting with the mind via the pineal gland.
I've always loved that visual. This pure, rational ghost sitting inside a clunky machine, pulling levers.
It's a striking image. But for centuries, this Cartesian dualism, this incredibly strict separation of the rational mind on one side and the emotional physical body on the other, it became the bedrock of Western thought.
It shaped our schools, our medicine, how we view ourselves.
And the underlying assumption was that reason and emotion are fundamental enemies.
Right. If you want to make a good, intelligent decision, you have to suppress your physical feelings. You ignore your bodily impulses and rely strictly on cold logic, which frankly sounds exhausting.
It is.
And it's also where we hit a massive scientific wall. Which brings us to Antonio Damasio's book, Descartes' Error.
A brilliant book.
Damasio looked at this historical separation of emotion and reason and realized that biologically, it isn't just difficult to separate them.
It's literally impossible.
Right.
What's fascinating here is how neurological trauma reveals the hidden architecture of our everyday thinking. Damasio proved this using real-world clinical data.
Starting with his index patient.
Yes, a man he referred to as Elliot.
Set the stage for us. Who was Elliot before his medical intervention?
Elliot was a highly intelligent, very successful professional in his 30s. A good husband, a dedicated father. But then, he developed a severe brain tumor.
A meningioma.
Yes, it required immediate surgery. The surgical team successfully removed the tumor, which was a medical triumph. But to get to it, they had to remove parts of his frontal lobes.
Okay, so from a purely Cartesian perspective, you'd think as long as they didn't touch the math or logic parts, he'd be fine. Did his raw intelligence survive?
It did, remarkably well. His cognitive intelligence, memory, language skills, complex math, all completely intact. He passed standard neuropsychological tests with flying colors.
Wow.
But his life, in any practical sense, completely fell apart.
How? If his logic was intact, why couldn't he function?
He became incredibly destructively impulsive. He was suddenly unemployable. He couldn't prioritize simple tasks or make basic business decisions.
So his personal life suffered too.
It dissolved. His marriage ended. He got involved in disastrous financial schemes. But the most striking change was his profound emotional flattening.
Emotional flattening, like he was just calm all the time.
Not calm in his Zen way, it was an absence. He was unemotive. The strongest emotion he could muster, even facing personal ruin, was a fleeting annoyance. No profound joy, no crushing sadness, no deep fear.
This sounds exactly like that famous 19th century medical anomaly, Phineas Gage.
Yes, Gage is the foundational historical case for this. Gage survived an explosion that drove a tamping iron straight through his skull.
Right through the left frontal lobe.
Exactly. And just like Elliot, Gage's memory and basic intellect were fine. But his personality changed so drastically, his friends said he was no longer Gage.
He became highly profane and erratic.
Very irreverent, completely unable to stick to plans. So neurologists studied these cases and identified Gage syndrome. It's highly localized to damage in the ventromedian frontal lobes.
And similar issues happen with bilateral damage to the amygdala, right?
Yes. The crucial insight Damasio extracted is that acquired social incompetence and a drastic flattening of mood always occur together. They are not dissociable.
I really want to drill down into this. You take Elliot, give him an IQ test, he's perfect, he's smart on paper, but in the real world, he can't make a simple decision, like the lunch example in the sources.
The lunch example is perfect. If you or I pick a place for lunch, we consider a few options, feel a preference, and go. When Elliot was asked to choose a restaurant, his purely rational mind took over.
Cold, hard variables.
Yes, you would analyze seating plans, the lighting, the menus, the prices, the probability of finding parking.
Acting like a perfect Cartesian computer.
But a perfect computer never stops calculating unless programmed to stop. Elliot could spend literal hours endlessly weighing the logic of these competing variables.
Because he couldn't just pick a place.
Right. Without an emotional preference, without a feeling of desire or aversion, all options held the exact same logical weight.
That is terrifying. Pure logic without emotion is a paralyzing disease.
It robs rational thought of its power.
So how does the brain solve this for us normally? What's the mechanism?
This is Damasio's somatic marker hypothesis. We have to look at how evolutionary hardware operates. He distinguishes between primary and secondary emotions.
Break those down. What is a primary emotion?
Hardwired. Think primal fear, sudden elation, intense disgust, generated by phylogenetically old structures deep in the brain, like the limbic system and the amygdala.
So these evolved very early.
Yes, and they evoke stereotypical bodily responses. You hear loud noise, your body reacts before you even have a conscious thought. You start sweating, your muscles tense, your heart races.
Tachycardia. Okay, so that's raw hardware reacting to an immediate threat. But I'm not running from tigers. I'm trying to decide if I should send an aggressive email to a coworker.
That's where secondary emotions come in. Nuanced, learned emotions from navigating complex social structures. These originate in the frontal regions, the areas Elliot Gage had damaged. But, and this is the absolute key, these frontal regions don't have their own separate output system. They work through the older primary circuitry of the limbic system.
Hold on. So when I feel a complex modern social emotion, like professional embarrassment, my brain is using the exact same physical plumbing my ancestors used to run from predators.
Exactly that. Evolution is highly efficient. It didn't build a new logic brain that completely bypassed the old animal brain. It built neocortical systems of regulation on top of the older ones.
Judging and complex reasoning ultimately serve the same evolutionary purposes as ancient limbic systems: survival, homeostasis, social hierarchy.
Right, so in practice, as you live your life, your frontal mechanisms constantly create associations. They take images and potential actions and tag them with the physiological states of your body at the time.
They leave a bodily tag, a somatic marker.
Yes, like a subconscious sticky note. So when you're faced with a decision today, say, choosing between a difficult, rewarding project and a tedious administrative task, your brain rapidly simulates the potential outcomes.
And my body subliminally feels those physiological states tagged from past experiences.
Your gut feeling isn't a metaphor. It's a literal physiological simulation. Your body acts as a massive, hyper-efficient subconscious filter.
So if a task has a negative somatic marking, my brain generates a microdose of that physical aversion.
And rapidly rejects the option before you consciously waste energy analyzing it.
Wow, and options with positive markings get extra attention. This is the hidden power of the brain, the body subliminally guiding rationality.
And if you suffer damage to those frontal lobes, you lose the markers, you lose the gut feelings. You end up paralyzed by infinite variables, unable to distinguish between a menu's color and a terrible business contract.
This completely destroys Descartes' premise. You are a unified organism. The mind can't exist without the continuous feedback loop of the body.
The brain relies on an unbroken stream of electrochemical signaling from the body. Even our digestive systems contain massive networks of neurons. The body is the ground state for the mind's operations.
We see this vividly in phantom limb syndrome, right?
Yes. When the brain is robbed of normal sensory data from an amputated limb, it doesn't just accept the silence. The neural maps are still there, hungry for input.
So it generates altered states of perception.
It hallucinates pain or movement where there is no physical tissue, proving that without the body's grounding data, the mind's construction of reality distorts.
So taking care of your physical state, getting sleep, regulating your nervous system isn't just about general health. It's literally about protecting your cognitive intelligence.
A dysregulated body inevitably produces dysregulated logic. And this biological reality perfectly bridges to our next major source.
Because if the brain isn't a purely rational Cartesian entity, what is it?
It's more like a chaotic committee in there.
Ancient evolutionary alarms shouting at a modern logical manager.
And that idea was actually proposed a century before fMRI machines by the 19th century philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche.
Okay, let's wade into Nietzsche. Moving from the great divorce of mind and body to what we can call the multiplicity of the soul. During his time, what was the standard view of the mind?
Thinkers like John Locke and Immanuel Kant generally believed the mind possessed a rational, unified power to simply suspend the execution of desires.
Meaning, if I want to eat a whole cake, my unified rational mind just pulls a lever and says, no, we're having a salad.
Exactly, a singular rational eye directing traffic. But Nietzsche looked at human behavior, our hypocrisies, our irrational passions, and completely rejected this unified self.
What did he think was going on?
He saw a chaotic social structure of drives and effects. He proclaimed the mind as a multiplicity, an aggregation of competing psychological entities.
He called us a kind of chaos.
In his notes, compiled as The Will to Power, he described our essence as an association of drives with constant rivalry and particular alliances.
Which feels incredibly accurate, especially looking at a 6-hour runway of work. I have the drive to achieve, I have the drive to rest, the drive to procrastinate by organizing my desk, constant rivalry.
But beneath that chaos, he posited a fundamental driving force, the will to power.
I have to stop you there. We have to address the elephant in the room. The term sounds aggressive, and we know it was hijacked after his death.
It's a critical distinction. After Nietzsche suffered a mental breakdown in 1889, his sister, Elizabeth Förster Nietzsche, seized control of his literary estate, his unpublished notes, the Nachlass.
And she was married to a prominent anti-Semitic political agitator.
She was. She heavily manipulated, selectively edited, and forged his writings to align his philosophy with German nationalism and early fascist ideologies,
turning the will to power into a blunt political weapon.
But historical scholarship demonstrates Nietzsche actually loathed anti-Semitism and German nationalism. He aggressively broke off friendships over those issues.
So what did he actually mean by the will to power?
For him, it was a deeply individualistic, creative, and transformative impulse. An expansive, life-affirming energy, a striving for growth and self-mastery, overcoming oneself.
Less about conquering a neighbor, more about conquering procrastination or mastering a skill.
Exactly. All psychological phenomena are expressions of this primordial creative will to power.
What's fascinating here is how this maps onto modern neuroscience. Let's say I'm driving, someone cuts me off, and I get an intense urge to land the horn. The drive itself is just a pressure seeking an outlet, right?
Yes. The drive doesn't care about social consequences, it's raw energy.
But then my prefrontal cortex simulates the somatic markers of road rage, realizes it's a terrible idea, and stops my hand. I don't honk, but does the drive disappear?
This is where Nietzsche's insight is profound. Neurologically, no, it's not gone. It's much easier for your prefrontal cortex to stop the behavior than to stop you from feeling the underlying aggression.
The conscious brain keeps the behavior in check, but the instinctive feeling remains active. It's vibrating beneath the surface.
The impulse vibration of thoughts.
Right. The energy is still in the system. Our conscious mind isn't the captain. We're just a tiny person on deck trying to manage massive waves.
And Nietzsche formalized this into his higher order thought, or hot tea theory of consciousness. We are reflectively conscious of only a minuscule fraction of our mental life.
The vast majority operates completely unconsciously.
According to hot tea theory, an unconscious mental state only becomes conscious when we actively target it with a higher order thought, when we discursively think about it.
So if we're filled with this chaotic, unconscious will to power, what do we do with it? If we suppress it like Descartes wanted, we build a pressure cooker.
Nietzsche warned against trying to make those wild torrents of the soul dry up. If you cap the pressure, it explodes inappropriately later. We must economize it, put it to work. Through creativity in the arts. This is the direct ancestor of modern expressive therapies. Art therapy, music, dance. They don't try to rationally talk you out of your feelings. They use the creative process to safely access and express those drives.
You actively engage with your shadow. You take the messy chaos, your hidden power, and give it a canvas, or a 6-hour deep work session.
You harness that raw energy into a vital, authentic sense of self.
This is a massive takeaway for anyone listening. A low mood often isn't a lack of energy, it's paralysis from competing internal drives. Your multiplicity is at war.
If you force yourself to work, you fight your biology. But if you channel that raw energy into a clear creative identity, you aren't fighting it, you're surfing it.
You harness it for momentum. Okay, so the body and mind are unified. The psyche is a chaotic multiplicity. Now, how does this machinery actually build the reality you're experiencing right now?
We're stepping into the realm of the active creator. To understand how your brain builds reality, we start with Immanuel Kant.
Kant, 18th century, wrote incredibly dense books. What did he figure out?
He engineered a Copernican revolution in human perception. Before Kant, the assumption was the mind was a passive observer, a blank slate. The outside world simply imprinted itself upon us.
The camera model?
Right, but Kant was awakened from his dogmatic slumber by David Hume's skepticism. Kant realized the passive camera model couldn't explain the richness of our experience.
So if we aren't cameras, what are we?
He proposed our mind actively constructs the world. The mind is a factory with pre-installed heavy machinery.
Like what?
Space and time. He argued they aren't objective physical realities independent of us. They are a priori subjective conditions of our own experience. Built-in formatting tools.
So we can never know the raw, unfiltered, objective reality, the noumenal world.
Because the second we perceive it, we've run it through our factory. We only know the phenomenal world, the world as it appears after our brain constructs it.
Our sources highlight a fascinating historical detail here. Kant was influenced by Georg Bernhard Billfinger, who had studied Taoist ontologies.
Yes, in Taoism, the fundamental dynamic principle weaves the world together through a continuous harmonizing of opposites, an active, energetic balancing act.
And Billfinger passed this Taoist motif to Kant.
He did. It led Kant to view humans not as passive ghosts, but as active, energetic structures fully integrated into the material cosmos.
Fast forward to today, and modern neuroscientists are looking at fMRI machines saying, wow, Kant was right.
It's the predictive processing paradigm, sometimes literally called the Kantian brain model.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's break down predictive processing. It shifts how we view the brain. The brain is not a passive receiver. It is a relentless prediction machine. It uses a generative model to constantly guess what the incoming sensory barrage is going to be before it even arrives.
Let's use a mundane example. Reaching for a coffee cup. Under the old model, light bounces off the cup, enters your eyes, your brain searches a database and says, "There's a cup."
But under predictive processing, before you even fully turn your head, your brain, based on context, memory, and your drive for caffeine, is actively generating a highly detailed prediction of what should be there. It's literally hallucinating the coffee cup into existence in your visual cortex.
A controlled hallucination, yes. The actual sensory input from your eyes merely serves as an error correction signal.
If the light matches the hallucination, prediction confirmed. I grab the cup.
But if your spouse moved it and put a glass of water there, your brain registers a prediction error. That error signal shoots up the hierarchy, forcing your brain to update its generative model and realize it's looking at water.
This is analysis by synthesis. To analyze what something is, you first synthesize it yourself. We see this in cutting-edge AI, too.
When computer scientists train an artificial neural network to recognize faces, they use generative models. The network learns how to generate those images from scratch, using wake-sleep algorithms to dream or imagine patterns.
To recognize something, you have to know how to create it. And our Kantian brains do this constantly. Perception is deeply entangled with imagination.
They're essentially the same process. And this relies heavily on the default mode network, or DMN.
The engine room of the Kantian brain, what is it?
A distributed cluster of brain regions. The medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, the precuneus. It's the brain's backstage crew, active when you are at rest.
So when I'm zoned out, my DMN is running the show, synthesizing past experiences and simulating potential futures.
Psychologists call this autonoetic consciousness.
Auto means self. Noetic relates to the intellect.
The phenomenal ability of humans to mentally travel through time. It allows us to duplicate reality.
We create an ideal world in our minds,
where we experience the somatic markers of past memories and project ourselves into endless permutations of potential futures.
But this is where it gets tricky for our listeners trying to find momentum. If I'm sitting at my desk feeling intense anxiety about a presentation next week, what is my predictive brain doing?
Your DMN is simulating the presentation. Based on past insecurities, your generative model is predicting failure, humiliation.
And because of Damasio's somatic markers, my body doesn't know it's a simulation.
Your brain predicts a stressful future, so it generates a negative somatic marker right now. Heart rate increases, cortisol spikes. You physically experience a failure that hasn't happened.
The impulse vibration of a purely imagined thought hijacks my physical biology in the present. This is why we feel paralyzed in low moods. We hallucinate terrible futures and react as if they're real.
Which brings us to a highly optimistic inflection point. Can this factory upgrade itself?
Yes. Moving into neuroplasticity and adult cognitive development. Robert Keegan at Harvard, constructive developmental theory.
He argues the way adults construct reality, their operating system evolves throughout their lifespan if they do the work, based on the dynamic distinction between subject and object.
Let's break this down. What does it mean to be subject to something?
When you are subject to an emotion or belief, it's hidden from conscious awareness. You are fused with it. You view the whole world through it.
Like wearing red-tinted glasses and just thinking the whole world is red.
Exactly. You don't have the belief has you. If you're subject to anger, you don't say, "I am experiencing anger." You just are angry.
In the workplace, if you're subject to the belief that your worth equals productivity, a bad day means I am worthless, not my output was low.
Perfect example. Contrast that with being object. Elements of your internal experience that you can step back from and look at from a distance.
You take the red glasses off and hold them in your hand.
You can evaluate them, manipulate them. I am experiencing a surge of anger. Let me choose how to respond.
So cognitive growth happens when you move an element from subject to object. You objectify what previously controlled you in the shadows.
You gain vastly more control over your predictive brain. And we see the physical neuroscience of this. Functional connectivity within the DMN alters significantly as we age.
It reallocates resources. And the regions that perform this subject-to-object maneuver, the cortical midline structures, they do the heavy lifting of self-reflection.
This is deeply intertwined with theory of mind. The objective awareness that you possess internal mental states and others possess their own different mental states.
Which requires massive subject-to-object movement, realizing your view is just a generative model, not objective truth.
Neuroscience shows mirror systems help execute theory of mind by mapping others' goals onto our neural architecture.
In individuals with autism spectrum disorder, fMRI shows reduced functional connectivity between facial expression processing areas and midline areas,
Suggesting difficulty moving internal states from subject to object. But neuromodulation techniques, targeted brain stimulation, are showing measurable improvements by artificially encouraging the brain to build those bridges.
This neuroplasticity parallels computational models of learning.
Beautifully. When connectionist neural networks hit a performance plateau, they can't get better with their current structure.
The only way to improve is when scientists literally add new neurons, new structural nodes to target weaknesses.
You can only rearrange old data so much. To handle complexity, your brain needs to forge new structural connections, add entirely new ways of turning subject into object.
So how do we actually do this? If I have a block of 6 hours, how do I use this for momentum? How do I take a low mood and turn it into physical motion?
We apply ancient wisdom to modern techniques. Socratic questioning within cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, CBT is the applied science of Kegan's subject-object theory, using Socrates, Elenchus, or cross-examination.
Socrates exposed contradictions in people's hidden assumptions by asking probing questions,
Forcing them to make their subjective beliefs object. So on a Tuesday when I'm stuck, I get a curt email from my boss. My amygdala fires a primary emotion of threat.
the hardware activates.
An automatic thought pops up. My boss hates me, I'm getting fired, I'm a failure. My mood crashes, I'm paralyzed, what's happening in my brain?
You are entirely subject to that thought. The impulse vibration of that panic thought dictates your reality. Your Kantian brain hallucinates a disastrous future and generates a massive negative somatic marker. You're trapped in Descartes' error.
So I need to intervene, be my own Socrates.
You do the short reset, pause, step away, and take the thought, I'm a failure, and make its object. Write it down.
Moving it from inside to outside my head, then cross-examine.
What actual hard evidence do I have that my boss is firing me today?
Well, I had a good review last month.
Is there a more likely explanation for the brief email?
She's in back-to-back meetings, probably typing on her phone.
Is this intense panic proportional to the situation, or is my amygdala drastically overreacting?
It's definitely an overreaction.
This internal discourse is real-world neuroplasticity. You force your brain to shift activity from the panicked amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. You take a cognitive distortion that was subject and hold it to the light as object.
I'm hacking my predictive processing machine. Questioning the impulse vibration interrupts the negative somatic markers. My heart rate goes down. I introduce new logical data.
This is the goal of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy and dialectical behavior therapy, balancing radical acceptance with active change.
Accepting the physical sensation of anxiety, but challenging the story the Kantian brain assigns to it.
You train your generative models to predict reality based on capability and historical success, rather than defaulting to fear.
This is how you create momentum in your 6-hour block. Do the short reset, catch the automatic thought, establish a clear creative identity. You are the conscious architect of your mind, not a victim of biological impulses. And focus on one concrete output. Apply the cross-examination, clear the fog, tackle the next physical task.
You are an active, powerful participant in the continuous construction of your own phenomenal reality.
What an absolute marathon. To recap, we tore down Descartes' dualism with Damasio's somatic markers. Logic is paralyzed without the gut feeling.
We waded into Nietzsche's chaotic multiplicity of drives fueled by the will to power.
Explored the Kantian brain's predictive engine hallucinating reality.
Saw Kegan's developmental theory map onto neuroplastic changes, requiring us to move beliefs from subject to object.
And used Socratic CBT to cross-examine impulse vibrations of thoughts to build forward motion. So what does this all mean? We promised a provocative final thought.
Let's add one final radical Nietzschean concept to short-circuit the system. The eternal recurrence, combined with a more love of fate.
Set it up for us.
Nietzsche proposed a terrifying thought experiment. What if a demon whispered that you will have to live your exact life, every pain, joy, mundane Tuesday, over and over again, for all eternity?
For most, that's a crushing weight.
But here's the twist. If our Kantian brains are predictive processors, how we view our ultimate fate literally rewires our brain structure. If you embrace the eternal recurrence and truly love your fate, achieve amor fatigas, you are intentionally feeding your generative models the ultimate positive somatic markers.
By choosing to love your fate, you take the ultimate stance of cognitive agency.
You aggressively program your neuroplastic brain. You decide that everything is necessary and ultimately beautiful. You train your neural network to predict and build a future of profound meaning and endless momentum.
You completely cease to be a victim of circumstance. What if the ultimate hack to the predictor brain is simply deciding to fiercely love the life you are generating?
It might be the final upgrade to the human operating system.
That is a staggering thought to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take this momentum, recognize your hidden power, ruthlessly cross-examine those negative impulse vibrations, and keep turning your low mood into motion. Have an incredible rest of your day. Use those 6 hours beautifully, and we will see you next time.